Hey everybody, this is the next installment of Solving the Health Puzzle. Why am I sick? The real reasons with the great and powerful Paul Burgess, and I'm Dr. Jess. This week, I've been putting out a couple of things on Instagram and Facebook talking about going rogue, and been thinking about it, what that actually means, because Paul's been telling us over the past several weeks, past several podcasts, that if you really want to resolve your health issues, what you have to do is be willing to change your habits, be willing to do essentially what go against what the world is telling you to do. And if we have got some significant challenges to overcome, that is Dr. Google, okay, people going into Google and going absolutely nuts. Okay, WebMD, if you put a set of symptoms in, I guarantee you'll come up with like a deadly diagnosis. We're fighting against everyone who's selling a particular product that they backfill in with a lot of science, usually junk science, okay, to support the use of their product. They're trying to tell you what you want to hear, that there is a silver bullet, that there's one thing you can do to heal yourself, and it simply isn't true. So we have been asking you to think differently, to act differently, essentially go against the flow, go against to what everybody else is doing. Last night I put a post up that said, doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result, is the definition of insanity, which is from Albert Einstein. So we kind of coined a phrase last week, and I kept saying it, and Paul kept smiling about going rogue. Okay, and honestly, I think that's what we're asking you to do. Okay, if you really want to get healthy, if you really want to progress and have a life, you're going to have to think differently. You're going to have to go rogue. And Paul said one thing last week that stuck in my heart. Said, when you're unhealthy, you've got one goal and one thing you think about all day, and that is getting healthy. What does that sound? What does that sound like to a person? If you're ill, all you're thinking about that day is how bad you feel, what you need to do to feel better, and you're going moment by moment, being ruled by your feelings or your symptoms. If you're healthy, you've got innumerable goals. You can go after things here, there, and everywhere. And having experienced this myself, it really stuck. Like when you're not well, that's all you think about all day.
Yeah.
And think about how that gets you, where that gets you. Okay. And how your life develops like that, and it continues to develop. And all you do is stay within that kind of a vortex. And traditional medicine, they're geared, for whatever reason, I'm not going to be cynical, to manage chronic illnesses, not cure them. So managing means managing your symptoms. So you're going to be popping pills, you're going to be doing whatever simply to manage your symptoms for the rest of your life. And something's got to break, something's got to be different. Paul.
Yeah, so traditional medicine does manage your sickness. It doesn't make you any better because they're managing your symptoms, as we know. And there's nothing wrong with that for a lot of people. It's kind of what they buy into and what they expect. And a lot of people don't want to change their habits. They don't want to go rogue. They want to toe the line, right? And we've seen that globally recently with the advent of the narrative behind vaccines, and some people are very anti-vax and some people are very pro, and the views are all skewed. There's a lot of nonsense out there at the moment, and people have got to do what they think is right for them. And I think that's one of the key things that people need to firstly understand is what is right for you, what is your goal, what are you trying to achieve. And when people ask me, this is kind of where it starts. People ask me, what do I do for a living? And I've done this for a lot of years, and it evolves and it changes, and it evolves and changes all the time because the messaging is much more refined and we are much more specific as to who we're speaking with and how we're communicating with them and how we want to get the communication across, because the better we get the communication, the better we can treat somebody, because they can really understand it, right? And it's not about educating people. That's the worst thing to do. You need to get them to realize there's some things that needs to be done, and then get them to take action. So people ask me, what do I do? And I like to tell people that I create the ability for you to enjoy your life every day. So I want you to wake up with this first thought that is, I cannot wait for today. And because I'm going to find some amazing things and my quality of life is going to be insane. That is different to today's going to be great. Today's going to be great. Today's going to be great. And just tell yourself that. That's nonsense. What I do is create this ability, capacity in people to look for the amazing things every day so that they can appreciate it. Now, you can't do that while you're sick and tired. Okay, you can only do that when your health is right. So we want to create an environment where you can enjoy your life again and find what's amazing about this journey, and at the same time deal with these health issues. Because as we said, if you've got good health, you've got 1,000 goals. If you've got bad health, you've got one goal, and that's get myself well. And so we want to deal with that end of it, and so that you can start having that amazing life again, right? So that's what I do for a living. Great. It's fun. It's amazing. I love it. And you do exactly the same thing. So you know how great it is. Here is the problem. When you talk about go rogue, what we mean is you need to do something different if you want to get these results. And the key thing that is different is you need to get help from somebody who knows what they are doing. You cannot do it on your own. End of. Okay, that's not up for discussion, because it is a discussion that would end very badly for someone saying they can do it on their own. I am a very experienced practitioner. I am very good at what I do. I get help. You can't treat yourself, okay, even if you know what you're doing. And when you
Trust
do
me,
know
that's true.
right, how many times have me and you had conversations where I advise you or you advise me or whatever else it is, right? It's just the way it is. So as a layman who's not in the business and hasn't got 30, 40 years of experience, sorry, all bets are off. There's no chance you're going to get this done. So the first thing that people need to do differently is to be open to the fact that I need the help. I cannot do it on my own. Where everyone is going, the whole, the run of the mill approach is, let's look at YouTube, let's Google, blog, whatever else it is, and let me find what the answer is, or go on social, and that guy says this, that's what I need to do, and so on and so forth. Everything is generic. Everything. It can't be specific, because Google hasn't taken your history. They don't know your current bloods. They don't know your current organic acids. They don't know what your toxicity levels are. They don't know any of that. And even if you do have that information and you somehow put it into some sort of online program, you're still not going to know what to do with what the recommendations are. Which order you do it in. What happens if you take that glutathione and actually you feel worse? Why is that happening? Oh, well, you're not recycling it, and that's a problem. And did you know that? No, because that's not your job, right? So that's the rogue thing people need to do. Get help in getting yourself fixed. Do not try and do it on your own. And I know that sounds like, oh, you just want people to come and do work with you. Well, if it's the right thing for you, then yeah, you should do work with someone like me or like Jess or whatever else it is. But what I don't want you to do is waste your time and money trying to do it yourself, because you'll end up frustrated, wasted a lot of money and wasted a lot of time. So that's the thing about going rogue. Get the help you need, because we are the ones that will be able to deal with those other things that you honestly won't have a chance with.
On those points, number one, about the contention that we're just trying to attract patients. The reason we offer this 30-minute, I call meet and greet or get acquainted session, is to, number one, determine whether we can help you or not. But more than that, determine if we're the right fit. Believe it or not, we turn down as many cases as we accept. Okay, there's certain people where you look and you say, listen, you're not ready, or you should, be doing something else for a while, because, this is something where you're going to be working, and we're going to be guiding, but you're going to be working. Okay. How do you know you're in this vortex, if you will? Well, let me give you some guidelines that might be helpful. If you've done several protocols, either under guidance or that you found on the internet, and it's simply not working, and you're at the point where you're grasping for straws, how do you know you're doing that? Okay. I think that if I up my zinc, let me look at the zinc copper, let me do this, let me do that. I think you start thinking it's these things out here that have no probability of being true, but you read an article somewhere. Recently, I had a patient contact me and showed me an article about the symptoms of pediatric HIV. Okay, which happened to, in this particular article, talked about all the symptoms that were basically autism spectrum disorder. And she got very, very frightened that her son had pediatric HIV. Well, I told her, I said, look, all this person is doing is saying all these symptoms are caused by something that creates chronic inflammation that hits the brain. And that could be anything. That can be Epstein-Barr, that could be cytomegalovirus, that could be anything at all that creates this kind of inflammation, including pediatric HIV. So what's the probability that your son has it? Well, if you and your partner don't have it, okay, there's no probability, you're not in the risk groups, or you've been tested and it's negative, then your son has zero probability. Okay, but grasping for straws. Okay, read an article, oh my God, it must be that. Okay, if you're there and you haven't had success in innumerable other things you've done, and you're confused and you're frightened and you're just not progressing, regardless of who you've seen or what you've done, then you need somebody who can look at the big picture, who can put the puzzle pieces together, who can connect the dots, if you will. Okay, there aren't many of us out there who are willing to do this work. Why? It's a lot of work. Yes, your practitioners may do testing. They may do an organic acid test, but are they interpreting it, or are they just going line by line by line? How do you know if they're going line by line? Well, if you walk out of their office with 2 shopping bags worth of vitamins, they're going line by line. They're not taking in the big picture and figuring out what you want. They're just going, hey, this, let me give them that. This, let me give them that. This, let me give them that. Plus, you have to have an understanding of physiology and biochemistry that allows you to sit there and say, gee, I wonder why when this person takes glutathione, they feel worse as opposed to the other person who doesn't. You have to know the pathways. You have to know how to influence the pathways. And it's not a matter of the polymorphisms or the SNPs. And the fact is that people look at these SNPs and say, oh, I've got MTHFR. Everybody's got MTHFR. It's a gene. Okay. Or they'll say, I've got compound heterozygous MTHFR. And I get these panicked calls. I'm like, were you sick yesterday? No, then you're not sick today. Okay. The presence of a SNP or polymorphism does not mean you're ill, and the absence does not mean you're well, but you have to know how to look at it. You have to know what's involved. You have to know why something's happening and how to correct it in the proper order. Okay, that's what's difficult, because what you're looking at on the internet are people's opinions. If you're reading studies and you understand the studies and how they're done, remember that if a study is actually performed, they're cutting out all the variables as much as they can to get some answer to a hypothesis. And the fact is that that answer has to be applied to an individual with innumerable variables. And unless you're a clinician, it is tough to do. Even for clinicians, it's tough to do. Hence all the knowledge and experience. So if you're grasping for straws and you've tried a bunch of things under supervision that isn't working, tried a bunch of things by yourself, and you are frustrated as heck, those are the kind of people that we deal with, that we get the best results with. Part of that, most of that, is your willingness to make changes, your willingness to take direction and let us walk the road with you. And that's what we really mean about going rogue. There are no silver bullets out there, as much as people would like you to think so. There are no silver bullets. If you have a complex multifactorial condition, guess what? You need somebody who can put it together, make you healthy from multiple angles.
I think
But
also it's
Mhm.
important. It's also important for people to realise that it takes a long time. That
It does.
it's not a 2-week fix, or you just take this course of antivirals and you'll be fixed. This stuff takes months, and generally you're looking like a year's worth of work, because you can't change things overnight, and it takes your body quite a long time to catch up.
It does.
Right, the fact that your gut lining replaces itself every 3 to 5 days is lovely, but that doesn't mean it's fixed in 5 days' time. You've got a whole heap of other stuff that have been creating problems in there that take months to get sorted out. If you're really, really good and you're trying to bring down cholesterol, 4 to 6 months probably, because you can bring it down temporarily for the test, right?
Mhm.
You can peak for the performance for the event, right? But that doesn't mean you continue it. And so knowing how to do these things long term is massively important. One of the things that I see a lot of is people trying to be perfect on their diet immediately. They go, all right, I need to do this straight away. And then they go, oh, can I eat this? And can I do that? And go, whoa, whoa, whoa. First of all, foot off the gas, calm, don't worry so much, don't stress. We're not trying to be perfect, because you're not ever going to be perfect. We want to look at some global rules that you've got to follow. And then these indiscretions that you have, when this is being recorded on the 8th of July, 2021, there's a football thing going on in Europe at the moment. Somehow England have made it to the final. So there will be people in a few days' time when the finals played that are going to have a drink and party and do what they do, whether win, lose, or draw, right? So, do I abstain from alcohol then on that day? And no, enjoy it, do what you want to do. But this is all part of the whole life that you have to create. It's not part of, you're not going to be perfect. So stop stressing about that. And you're not going to be a complete debaucherous lunatic. So stop worrying about that. Let's get for you specifically, let's get the right place that you can sustain while we can fix everything. There will be a tipping point where if you go over there, we can't fix everything. So we need to bring you into a place that you're good with, that you can do on a regular basis, 90% of the time, and that you can still be healthy with. Then you can do that forever. Right. So it's really important people understand, get the help, know it's going to take a long time, and just accept the fact that you cannot do it on your own.
These are all truisms. Okay. To give you a quick example of how long it takes, I had a young lady who was having anywhere from 3 to 5 seizures a day. Presently, and it's a year and a half now, she's having maybe 1 or 2 seizures a month, and her brain is coming back. She's able to communicate. Before that, she had so much dysfunction that she was walking around basically like this, very much unable to communicate. It takes time, especially neurological things take longer.
Yeah.
Nevertheless, the idea is the willingness to change and the willingness to go against a lot of other things you've been hearing. Okay, so if you're willing to do that, you will get well. So join us again next time, and we'll give you some more great information. Thanks, Paul.
Pleasure, man. Always.
Take care.